Hi, welcome to my stairway of good fortune and gratitude. I've been really lucky in the last 35 years that I've been here. I have some show posters hung right here, and I thought maybe I'd give you a tour. There's a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to edit the crap out of this, and maybe I'll add some pictures and stuff. Let's start over here. This is Baby. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for this one. I was in the ensemble. I had a few little things here or there, and I also covered Marty Vidnovic as Nick and went on a couple of times. Now this is the Mooney Shapiro Songbook. This is my first Broadway show. In fact, it's my first job in New York. I'd been here less than 2 months when I got cast, and I had no idea how lucky I was. I understudied Tim Jerome and Gary Beach. I was a pit singer. I did a couple of pre-recorded voiceovers, including me being multi-tracked, so I sounded like a whole chorus of German soldiers. And I was also asked to be the assistant stage manager, which meant I collected valuables at half hour. That was about it. This was, by the way, the last production to play in the Morosco Theater, which was torn down to make way for the Marriott in 1982. That was a big deal. And its other unfortunate claim to fame is that it ran only one night. We opened, and that was really exciting. But the next day, the stage manager called me to say, "It's all over but the screaming. Come by and get your things." How's that for a learning experience? I really think if it had opened off-Broadway instead of on Broadway, it would have run for over a year. But as our conductor used to say, c'est la goddamn showbiz. Now here is The Scarlet Pimpernel, which was unusual in another way. After almost a year on Broadway, it got a new director. It closed and reopened just days later after several significant changes were made in the show and a little bit of casting. We called this 2.0. I played Monsieur Tussaud, which was great fun for me, but there were more changes to come. 2.0 closed and reopened a few months later in another Broadway house. But by that time, I moved on to the revival of a play, Ring Round the Moon, which was directed by Jerry Gutierrez, whom I'd been lucky to work with a few times. I was primarily an understudy. I never went on, but I did have to carry a chair across the stage and mime a little business, and I got to watch, if not actually work with, some terrific people. A Catered Affair. Unfortunately, this closed before it found its audience. I really think it deserved better. I loved it. Another really talented company. I had 2 good roles, sang 2 songs, and hey, check out the hair. Fiddler on the Roof. We opened this revival with the wonderful Alfred Molina and a great cast and team. There's way more I could say about this experience. I did the show for 2 years, including that second year when Harvey Fierstein took over for Tevye, which surprised a lot of people. And it did, in fact, change things, but then again, it didn't. Our 2 Tevyes were different as night and day, but it remained a beautiful production, and I was really proud to be a part of it. I played the character of Mordcha, and I also got to play Tevye. A huge honor to play that role. I wish I had more time with it, but I am so grateful. And here's Into the Woods. Wow, another experience that is impossible to summarize. I played the steward, and when James Lapine gave notes, he would always address me as Stu. But as usual, I was also hired specifically to be an understudy. Playing the baker was a real thrill, and I did that, 24 times. And if all that weren't wonderful enough, we filmed that original production for PBS. And it inspired, I think, 2 generations of theater lovers and theater professionals. People are still watching it. On a Clear Day. Didn't last long, but a super talented cast and creative team. I was a standby. I never went on, but I worked with and hung out with a great group of people way upstairs on the top floor there. Our Mother's Brief Affair. This was a play for Manhattan Theater Club. I was a standby, but this time I did get to go on for a couple performances, playing opposite Linda Lavin as her lover. Watching her put the role together and then being on stage with her, she was lovely and funny, and I'm so glad I did it. Also, rehearsing with my fellow standbys was pure joy. Okay, here's falsettos. You see, it just gets cooler and cooler. Obviously, a hugely important production, an extraordinary production, and a lucky milestone for me. I stood by for Chip Zien again, and for Michael Rupert, and I played Mendel a number of times, but also, after the first week, it was decided that I would go on for Rupert as Marvin on Wednesday matinees. You won't find this info in any theater histories or indexes. I'm listed as understudy if I'm listed at all. But I played Marvin on Broadway 100 times that first year, and I will always cherish that. And I give a lot of credit to the really talented and supportive cast, including Michael Rupert, who of course I worked with when I played Mendel. But he was so supportive of me as his understudy. Besides being a role model for the character of Marvin, he was also a role model as a professional. Now, in the years since, people have come up to me to say they saw the show multiple times and how important it was in their lives. So you can see why, to me, having been a part of this is still wonderful. And here's Cabaret. Fantastic. So exciting to be a part of. The cast was uber talented. I was continually impressed by them. I was hired to stand by for Herr Schultz, played by Danny Burstein. And when Danny was off shooting a film or took a vacation, thank you, Danny, I got to play one of my favorite roles ever in this fantastic production. Is There Life After High School? This was my second Broadway show, and a piece of my heart is still in its locker. Great songs, still hold up. And one of the unusual things about the production was they hired a new director during previews. That was Bobby Nigro. Since we had an extended preview period and tickets were so cheap, people came multiple times. We've still got fans out there. I'm still a fan. That's it for the Broadway stuff. This is a poster from the Cincinnati Playhouse. In 1985, I played Seymour in a production of Little Shop of Horrors, and one of the production photos became part of this mural they have. So I'm in really good company. In fact, right there, I'm next to August Wilson. On this poster, at least, I'm close to David Mamet. I did a David Mamet play once, and that's this one, Speed the Plow. In Edmonton, Alberta, I played Charlie Fox. And here I am from a production photo looking like so many Hollywood bald men in the 90s with the requisite beard and ponytail. Next to that poster is Jekyll and Hyde. Now, I wasn't in the Broadway cast, but I did several versions before that. This poster is from a regional tour, and there's pics here from various versions that I worked on. It was a really big deal at the time. I still feel connected to some of the old cast. It was a major part of my life for a while. Now over here are two posters from the Hangar Theater. I had done a national tour of Titanic for a few months back in 2000. I played Bruce Ismay. But here, Don Stevenson created a version of the show that could play in small houses. Ian Weinberger orchestrated a beautiful reduction of the score, and it was great. I played Edgar Bean at the Hangar and in Westchester, working with Don and Liza Gennaro and terrific cast. My other Hangar production was this beautiful and really funny play by Tim Pinkney and directed by Peter Flynn. I didn't realize how good it was until we started working on it. This play should really be done in regional theaters all over the place. And it was just a love fest from day one. Without a doubt, this is one of my best and favorite theater experiences ever. So the last thing I have on my wall here, Merrily. This production was off Broadway at the York. We made a cast recording, so you can still get it on CD. I was in the ensemble playing Jerome and working with, no surprise, I'll say it again, an awesome cast. The PSM here was Perry Klein. He was the stage manager who called to give me the bad news after my first Broadway show closed. That's the tour. May you all find those times where you can say, as I have, despite all the crap, yes, this is why I chose this. This is why I'm here. Good luck.